Right now, stop for just a second. Look at your hands. Look around the room. Does this world feel solid to you? Does it feel understandable, objective? Do you think you are truly here in this room? You're wrong. This is the grandest, most perfect lie you experience every single millisecond of your existence. The truth is far scarier and more amazing. You have never touched reality. You are trapped in the absolute darkness and silence of your skull. Your brain has no direct access to light or sound. Everything you see right now, colors, shapes, movement, is not the world around you. It is a hallucination, a reconstruction that your brain creates in real time based on electrical impulses. We don't live in the external environment. We live in a biovirtual simulation that our mind builds for us from birth until death. And if our own brain is capable of faking reality so skillfully, a terrifying question arises. How can we be sure that anything outside this skull is actually real? How do you know that the reality being streamed to you right now isn't broken, distorted, or completely artificial? The first thought that comes to the modern mind is the Matrix, the simulation hypothesis. We've all heard Elon Musk say there is a 1 in billions chance we're in base reality. But the problem is, most people, even Musk, view this too simply. The average person imagines a simulation like a video game. There is a real world somewhere with people just like us sitting at computers. That is a naive view. Let's dig deeper. The most famous work on this is by philosopher Nick Bostrom. His logic is murderously simple. If a civilization develops long enough, it will eventually create virtual worlds indistinguishable from reality. Inside these worlds, conscious beings will appear, evolve, and create their own simulations. It becomes a nesting doll of universes, a chain. The mathematical probability that we are at the very top of this pyramid in the one true base world tends toward absolute zero. Sounds logical, right? But here is the trap. We make a mistake by assuming the outside world looks anything like ours. Let's run a thought experiment to understand the scale of the tragedy. Imagine you're a chess king. You are sentient, but you live entirely on the chessboard. You are the scientist of your world. You study the laws of your universe. You know pawns don't move backward. You know knights move in an L shape. You call this physics. But could you, by studying the rules of the game, ever understand what the board itself is made of? Could you discover the nature of wood or varnish? Would you understand who the humans are moving the pieces? No!
You would study the rules forever, but never know the players exist. We are the same. We study atoms, gravity, quarks. These are the rules of our chess game. But if our world is a simulation, these laws of physics are just code, and we can never step outside the code to see the hardware running it. This brings us to the concept of the causal closure of the physical world. It is the perfect prison. In our world, every event has a physical cause. A ball rolls because it was kicked. A neuron fires because another neuron triggered it. There are no gaps in this chain, no magic, no holes to peek through. The simulation must be self-sufficient, so the prisoner never suspects the bars exist. And if this system is perfect, any experiment you run, any question you ask the universe will return an answer in the language of the simulation itself. You cannot find a bug in the code while being part of the code. It feels like a dead end. The ground is crumbling beneath our feet. Can we be sure of anything? Doubt is the engine of progress, but it can also drive you mad. Newton doubted and found gravity. Einstein doubted and rewrote time. But doubt can also lead people into flat earth theories. Where is the line? You can doubt the moon landing. You can doubt that 2 + 2 = 4. Health. You can assume your memory is false and the world was created 5 minutes ago with all your memories pre-installed. You can even doubt you have a body. Maybe you're just a brain in a vat. But there is only one single thing in the entire universe you cannot doubt: the doubt itself. To doubt, there must be a doubter. This is René Descartes' famous argument: cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am. Descartes didn't see this as a logical deduction, but as a flash of insight. I am. It is an axiom. It is the only point of absolute truth available to you. The whole world might be a set piece, everyone else might be bots, but the fact that you are aware of this moment is an undeniable fact. And right here, in this point of absolute certainty, begins the loudest scandal in the history of science. We built civilization on the scientific method. We explained the motion of planets, split the atom, and decoded DNA. But in this grand picture of the world, there is a gaping hole. Science brilliantly explains behavior from the third person, but it is absolutely powerless to explain the existence of the first person. Max Planck, the father of quantum mechanics, said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." It sounds almost esoteric, but this comes from a physicist. Think about it. Your brain is just 3 pounds of fat, water, and protein. It is a chunk of matter obeying the same laws as a rock or a chair. How in the hell does this piece of meat start to feel? How does the movement of sodium ions across a cell membrane turn into the feeling of love, the taste of coffee, or the color red? There isn't a single formula in a physics textbook that predicts a complex circuit should suddenly acquire an internal observer. We call this phenomenon consciousness, but the word is blurry. Type it in the YouTube and you get thousands of videos about souls and chakras. But scientists mean something else. Consciousness is subjective experience. It is the feeling of what it is like to be you. And the paradox is, this is the only thing you actually possess. Yet science cannot prove it even exists. We can't measure consciousness with a device. We just agreed to believe that other people have it.
Skeptical materialists will say, so what? Consciousness is just a complex brain function evolved for better survival. Sounds logical, sure. But is it true? Do we really need to be conscious to survive and perform complex tasks? History knows terrifying examples that suggest otherwise. In 1987, Kenneth Parks, a 23-year-old Canadian, got off his couch, left his house, got into his car, and drove 23 kilometers through busy city streets. He arrived at his in-laws' house, took a tire iron, and brutally attacked them, killing his mother-in-law. Afterward, he drove to the police station and said, "I think I killed someone." And the entire time, he was asleep. Kenneth Parks was a sleepwalker. Experts confirmed his consciousness was offline. His self was not in the building. This case blows the mind because it proves a terrifying thing. A human is capable of performing incredibly complex actions, driving, picking locks, interacting with objects, even killing, while being an absolute biological robot, without a shred of consciousness. If the brain can do all this on autopilot, why did nature waste resources creating you? Why do we have this internal screen if everything can be done in the dark? This brings us to artificial intelligence. We like to call ourselves the pinnacle of creation, but from a physics standpoint, we are machines, biological machines. If Kenneth Parks could act like a zombie, how are we different from a sophisticated computer? In the mid-20th century, the genius Alan Turing asked, "Can machines think?" He realized arguing about definitions was useless, so he proposed the famous Turing Test. If a human chats with a computer and can't tell it's a machine, then the machine is intelligent. But Turing unintentionally swapped the concept of being with the concept of seeming. Today, neural networks write poetry, paint art, and hold philosophical debates. They pass the Turing test with ease. But has the chatbot become alive? Does it feel loneliness when you close the browser tab? Or is it just simulating the connection of words like a complex calculator? Let's go further. Imagine we start replacing your brain with an artificial one, neuron by neuron. We take one cell and swap it for a nanochip that copies its function perfectly. Will you change? Unlikely. One cell decides nothing. But what if we replace 10%, 50%, 100%? At what point do you disappear? Or will you disappear at all? If a cyborg stands before us, speaking with your voice, remembering your childhood, laughing at your jokes, will anyone be home inside? Or will the lights go out while the machine keeps running? This is the core problem. We can copy behavior, but we cannot copy sensation. Philosopher Thomas Nagel wrote a famous paper called "What Is It Like to Be a Bed?" We can study everything about beds, how their ears work, how their brains process echolocation, but we will never, ever know what it feels like to perceive a wall through sound.
There is an even more beautiful example: Mary's room. Imagine a scientist named Mary who lives in a black and white room and has never seen color. She knows everything about color, the wavelength of red, photon frequencies, how the retina reacts. She knows the physics of color like a god. But one day, she steps out of the room and sees a red apple for the first time. Does she learn something new? Of course. She learns what red looks like. This simple example destroys the physicist's confidence that they know everything about the universe. It turns out there is information that cannot be written in a formula. Subjective experience. Qualia. So what is consciousness? Is it an epiphenomenon? Just useless smoke from a steam engine that accompanies the brain's work but affects nothing? In modern philosophy, there is a battle of titans. On one side is Daniel Dennett, a hardcore materialist. He claims there is no magic theater inside your head. Consciousness is a user illusion, an interface the brain paints for itself to manage complex processes. According to Dennett, we are all just very complicated zombies who mistakenly believe we are alive. On the other side stands David Chalmers, the rock star of philosophy. He introduced the hard problem of consciousness. He says, "Guys, you explained how the brain processes data. Those are the easy problems. But you haven't even touched the main question. Why is this data processing accompanied by an internal feeling? Why don't we operate in the dark like that sleepwalker?" To crush materialism, Chalmers uses the concept of the philosophical zombie. Imagine your exact double, atom for atom, molecule for molecule. He has the same brain, the same reactions. If you pinch him, he screams and grabs his arm. His neurons transmit the pain signal, but inside, silence. He feels nothing. He simulates pain perfectly because his biology is wired that way, but there is no observer inside. To science, you and your zombie twin are identical. You are indistinguishable under a microscope or an MRI. But for you, the difference is everything. You exist. He is an empty shell. And if the existence of such a zombie is logically possible, it means consciousness is something that is not part of matter. It is something extra. And here we reach the most radical and beautiful idea that could flip our entire understanding of the universe. If consciousness cannot be derived from matter, if billions of dead atoms cannot birth a single lifting thought, then maybe we are looking in the wrong place. Maybe consciousness doesn't appear at the end of evolution. Maybe it was here from the very start. This theory is called Panpsychism. It suggests that consciousness is a fundamental property of reality, just as basic as mass, spin, or electrical charge. What if every electron, every atom holds a tiny microscopic spark of proto-consciousness? And the human brain is not a generator of consciousness, but rather an antenna, a receiver that collects and amplifies these billions of microsparks into a single, powerful I. Stephen Hawking once asked, Even if there is only one possible unified theory, it is just a set of rules and equations. What bleeds fire into the equations and makes a universe for them to describe? Traditional science is silent, but panpsychism offers an answer. Perhaps that fire is consciousness. Perhaps the very fabric of reality is woven not from dead matter, but from something living. You are used to thinking we are small people inside a huge universe, but maybe it's the exact opposite. Maybe the universe is just a way for consciousness to know itself. And you are not just an observer, you are the world opening its eyes for a moment. I'm grateful for any support. Leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the like button. It really helps the channel.